Have you ever wondered if even the greatest geniuses in history stopped to consider what happens after the last breath? Can you imagine Stephen Hawking, the very symbol of a rational and scientific mind, facing the greatest human mystery, death, and admitting, in a private conversation, doubts he'd never dare share publicly? Do you believe there are secrets even science hasn't had the courage to reveal? Today, you're going to see a hidden side of Hawking that few have ever witnessed. Get ready to question everything you believe to be true about consciousness, end, and eternity. But before you go on, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment here. Have you ever felt a presence or had an inexplicable doubt about what exists beyond life? Your answer can inspire thousands of people, strengthen our community, and ensure you don't miss any discoveries as surprising as this one. Now, take a deep breath, and let's unravel Stephen Hawking's secret side together. Imagine this scene: the artificial light of a small office, heavy curtains blocking out any sign of the outside world. Amidst the silence, a mind that revolutionized modern physics prepares to share a thought it never dared publish or defend at scientific conferences. The wheelchair is still, the eyes attentive and curious, almost childlike in their brightness. And then, like someone holding a secret capable of shaking convictions, Stephen Hawking asks in his synthesized, paused voice, "What if consciousness doesn't end with our last breath?" Do you grasp the grandeur of this moment? Everything we know about Hawking, his genius, his devotion to logic, his fierce combat against superstition, seems to dissolve before the abyss of the unknown. It's no longer the scientist, but the human being who emerges there. A man who, as he approached his own end, perhaps allowed himself something science fears, to doubt doubt itself, to feel the mystery, to allow himself, even for an instant, to imagine that death might not be a definitive silence, but merely a pause in a symphony we don't understand. Provocation. What if the secrets of the universe lie precisely in the questions we most avoid? What if even Stephen Hawking, the ultimate symbol of rationalism, felt the call of the inexplicable? It's hard to accept. The instinct is to doubt, to question the truth, to seek proof, to find some logical explanation. But sometimes the most transformative stories begin precisely in this shock, when what we deem impossible presents itself, breaking through the barrier of common sense. And that's what this video wants to talk about. The instant when even the most Cartesian of men allows himself to dive into the vastness of mystery. Are you ready to keep questioning with us? Stephen Hawking wasn't just a scientist. For decades, he was the spokesperson for rationality in a world thirsty for concrete answers. His name became synonymous with brilliant mind, unwavering determination, and intellectual courage. A victim of a relentless degenerative disease, Hawking defied physical limits, medical expectations, and above all, intellectual dogmas. His contribution to the understanding of black holes, his famous equation about the radiation named after him, and his conviction that God does not play dice with the universe, made him a reference not just academically, but culturally. When Hawking spoke, the world listened, and not just scientists. Ordinary men and women, young and old, religious and atheists. He was respected by everyone because he translated the most complex into phrases that touched all of us. Behind the wheelchair was a voice capable of challenging governments, ancient beliefs, and even human nature's own quest for meaning, where apparently none exists. That's why the mere idea that Hawking, in a moment of rare intimacy, admitted considering possibilities beyond physical life is shocking and fascinating. The figure of the skeptical scientist, always ready to dismantle myths, now appears wrapped in doubt, perhaps even vulnerability. It's this contrast that makes the topic so powerful. How can an exponent of rationality flirt with mystery? Keep this in mind. We're talking not about a sensationalist, but one of the greatest guardians of reason. And if even he faltered, who are we to fear the questions that insist on inhabiting our deepest thoughts? And you? Have you ever been convinced of something your whole life, only to realize in an extreme situation that perhaps there are more mysteries than answers? Write in the comments, what was the deepest doubt you've ever experienced? Here, your story is respected and can give meaning to many others. Talking about death is uncomfortable, especially for those who feel the passage of time more intensely, people in their prime, who have seen friends and relatives pass, who have faced moments of loneliness and the proximity of their own end. As we live, death ceases to be a distant concept and becomes a horizon that approaches, silently, with each celebration, each birthday, each unexpected farewell. Many avoid this topic. They find it morbid, preferring to fill their time with distractions, silencing the discomfort with promises of eternity, or with the comfortable skepticism of those who declare, "After this, nothing." But the truth is that ignoring fear, discomfort, doubt only postpones and often amplifies suffering. Allow yourself to face this discomfort. Not because we have definitive answers, but because the simple act of looking fear in the eye is, in itself, a form of liberation. Postponing the conversation about death deprives many older adults of a deeper understanding of themselves. It deprives children and grandchildren of necessary dialogues. It deprives families of comfort, stories, reconciliations. And especially it deprives each of us of experiencing the mystery with the dignity that only honest questioning provides. When we see Stephen Hawking, a symbol of ultimate overcoming, opening breaches to mystery, we feel permission to also doubt, to think, if even he considered it, maybe I can too, without fear of seeming weak, deluded, or less rational. There's something almost liberating in this movement. Doubt becomes a bridge between generations, between those who seek solace in science and those who seek it in the sacred for the weight of finitude. Have you ever talked to someone in your family about death? How was it? What would you want to ask if you knew time was short? What advice would you like to give or receive to face the end without despair, without taboo, without needing to feign courage all the time? Share with us. Your words can be a beacon for those still walking in the darkness of uncertainty. Now, imagine that everything you've heard so far intensifies. There is, according to close accounts, an interview never officially published, a document kept secret for fear of repercussions, in which Hawking allegedly went further than he ever allowed himself in public. The story circulates behind the scenes in academia, and not by chance, those present avoid commenting in detail. Why? What is so dangerous in the words of an already celebrated man? Why are the ideas of a genius at the end of his life still feared? The answer lies in the power that doubt exerts over established certainties. According to close sources, this dialogue happened during one of Hawking's last intimate meetings with a small group of scholars and friends. No cameras, no journalists, no pressure from a crowded auditorium, just voices, glances, and that dense air of someone who feels they are part of something historical. Some say that Hawking, when asked about the continuity of consciousness after death, responded with a provocative metaphor. Perhaps our mind is more like a radio signal than a light bulb. If the bulb breaks, the energy continues. The signal might find another way to appear. Pause. Silence among those present. Someone asks, "Are you saying you believe in life after death?" Hawking smiles, a rare expression of irony and perhaps relief. "No, I'm saying that, as a scientist, I learned to doubt the impossible, and that sometimes the question is worth more than the answer." Why was this conversation buried? We don't know for sure. Perhaps fear of tarnishing a reputation built on rational rigidity, perhaps fear of fueling pseudoscientific discourse, or perhaps because Hawking himself understood that certain doubts can only be shared among those who truly know how to value mystery without falling into the abyss of fanaticism. The fact is, the existence of this document, even as a legend, transforms Hawking into someone even closer to us. Someone who, at the limit of human knowledge, also felt the need for the first time not to have all the answers, and in doing so, he authorizes us to do the same. Have you ever thought about what secret you would take with you if you knew you had no more time? What mysteries of your soul deserve to be shared before the final silence? If there was a chance to leave a question, not an answer, as a legacy, what would yours be? Write in the comments. Your doubt might be the doubt of an entire generation. If this reflection has touched you in some way, stay with us until the end. The next chapters of this story will show what happened after these words, the clash between science and mystery, and how this doubt can be the key to a more fulfilling life. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear that they are not alone in their questions. After all, here there are no forbidden answers, only the courage to ask. Imagine yourself in Stephen Hawking's shoes. For decades, you are practically synonymous with rationality and logic. Your discoveries challenge physics. Your skepticism is almost as famous as your genius. You become a global symbol of science, someone who never falters in the face of the unknown, someone whose opinions make headlines and change paradigms. Now, project yourself to the last years of your life, a phase in which, inevitably, even the most brilliant mind on the planet has to face questions that don't fit into mathematical formulas. Hawking found himself, for the first time, forced to deal with his own vulnerability, his own time, his finitude. The man of answers had to live daily with questions for which perhaps no one ever had an answer. It is in this scenario, full of silence and introspection, that the conflict that few even imagine arises. On one side was the Hawking of interviews and books, who rejected any idea without a scientific basis. On the other, the man alone in his office, a son, a father, a human being, listening to the whisper of doubt amidst the silence of dawn. Deep down, certainties mingled with insecurities. However much reason prevailed, there was a secret space reserved for mystery. In one of his most intimate reflections, he reportedly confided to a close friend, "Science taught me never to accept dogmas, but it also showed me that doubt is the engine of all discovery." This sentence echoes as a profound invitation to the viewer. After all, is it possible to be rational and at the same time sensitive to the inexplicable? Perhaps you have experienced something similar. You spent your whole life defending a point of view, only to realize when faced with a crucial moment, a loss, an illness, a turning point, that some questions weren't asked or that the answers changed meaning. This doesn't make you contradictory. On the contrary, it makes you someone evolving, someone open to growth, to humanity. Stephen Hawking's greatest paradox might not have been about black holes, but about the human soul itself, how to reconcile the desire for certainties with the fascination for mystery. And most importantly, how to find beauty and serenity amidst doubts that will possibly never be resolved. If you have felt this conflict, you are not alone. Subscribe to the channel, share your experience in the comments, and help build a space where everyone can recognize themselves as vulnerable, and precisely for that reason, whole. After all, it is in the contrast between certainties and doubts that our story truly comes alive. We've reached the heart of the story. What exactly is said to have happened in that secret conversation of Hawking's? What are the phrases, the metaphors, the images that have become almost a legend among those present, and that now reach you, loaded with suspense and meaning? The main point, repeated by different confidants, revolves around a comparison Hawking liked to use. Consciousness is like a radio signal. If the device breaks, the signal continues, invisible, awaiting a new vehicle to manifest. This metaphor is powerful for several reasons. First, because it does not assert a belief based on faith, but neither does it close the door to mystery. It's the stance of someone who, even after unraveling the secrets of black holes, recognizes that the nature of the mind may be an even more complex phenomenon than the cosmos itself. Another striking point of this account is Hawking's humility before the ancientness of questions about the afterlife. "I am not the first to doubt, nor will I be the last," he reportedly said. Perhaps the scientist's greatest mistake is to imagine that we have already asked everything there was to ask. It's a rare admission, coming from someone whose work inspired generations to never accept ready answers. One of the questions that echoed in the small room was asked by a young researcher, "Professor, if consciousness survives, does it remember who it was?" Hawking replied with a mix of humor and seriousness, "If identity is just an echo of the brain, perhaps not. But if it's a more subtle pattern of information, who knows?" Pause for reflection. The silence that followed was not one of embarrassment, but of reverence. For the first time, Hawking was not seeking to end the debate, but to expand it. He didn't bring answers, but authorized the desire to keep searching. And that authorization, coming from someone whose name is synonymous with intelligence, has an almost liberating power. Think about how rare it is to see someone of such prestige admit, "I don't know." In our society, we learn to value certainties, definitive conclusions. But it is at the moment when doubt is embraced, when we allow ourselves not to know, that the greatest discoveries are born, and often the greatest relief. This episode shows that Hawking, besides being a genius, was humble before the mystery, and he invites us to the same posture, to embrace questions without fear, even if the answers never come. Have you ever had a doubt that changed your life? Share in the comments. Here, every question is a valuable piece of the puzzle of existence. Nothing in the universe of science is absolutely consensual, and the supposed revelation of this secret conversation of Hawking's was no different. As soon as rumors began to circulate about his statements, discreet, almost whispered among trusted colleagues, the scientific community split. And this clash, fraught with tensions, reveals a lot about our collective relationship with the unknown. On one side, more traditional colleagues, accustomed to defending the rigor of the scientific method, reacted with disbelief and even some indignation. This is an offense to Hawking's legacy, some said. Others feared that the figure of the rational scientist would be used, mistakenly, to support beliefs he always fought publicly. Science needs skepticism, not concessions to mysticism, they argued. On the other hand, younger voices and even surprising veteran supporters saw something valuable in this openness. For them, it wasn't about Hawking adhering to personal beliefs, but about celebrating the courage to ask complex questions even in the twilight of life. Scientists linked to neuroscience, palliative care, and philosophy argued that the role of science is not to end debates, but to expand them. The pursuit of knowledge is endless, said one researcher. Our obligation is not to deny mysteries that, today, seem insoluble. The debate quickly spread beyond academic walls. Forums, social media, support groups for the elderly and families of terminal patients began to discuss the impact of this doubt coming from Hawking. The press, always attentive to the unusual, questioned, was it a sign of weakness, a gesture of despair, or the pinnacle of intellectual humility? It's worth highlighting the reaction of some professionals who deal directly with aging and the end of life. Caregivers, psychologists, palliative care doctors emphasized how Hawking's doubt served as a comfort to many patients. If even he allowed himself to question, "Why can't I?" reported an 84-year-old woman, a participant in a support group. This episode served as a trigger for profound reflections on the very nature of science. What makes it so valuable is its openness to the unknown, its willingness to revise concepts, embrace new questions, challenge old certainties. At the same time, it exposes our difficulty in dealing with vulnerability. We want infallible heroes, but the most inspiring characters are precisely those who recognize their limitations. The truth is, it doesn't matter which side you're on, whether you believe in the continuity or the absolute end of consciousness. What matters is the invitation, left by Hawking and now renewed to you, the courage to debate, to listen, to embrace questions bigger than any answer. This is the true legacy of someone who, until the end, kept a curious eye on the universe and on himself. Leave your opinion. Do you think science should be more open to mysteries? Or is rigor essential to avoid falling into past errors? Write your answer in the comments. And remember to share this video with someone who also values the power of questions. Together, we can transform doubt into a path, and uncertainty into fuel for new ways of existing. Allow yourself to question along with those who knew the most. This is perhaps one of the greatest lessons the secret episode involving Stephen Hawking teaches us. Many people, throughout life, are conditioned to see doubt as weakness, as a character flaw, or as a sign of insecurity. Teachers demand correct answers from us, companies demand certainties, families seek stability. But what if they told you that Hawking himself, faced with mystery, considered doubt his greatest fuel? In his journey, Hawking was a master in the art of transforming limits into opportunities. Faced with a cruel disease, he never played the victim. Faced with physical impossibility, he made his mind an instrument of cosmic reach. The same applies to his uncertainties. When asked about the unknown, Hawking didn't turn his back. He looked it straight on, recognized the limit, and gave doubt a new meaning. Doubt, in the hands of a genius, doesn't paralyze but propels. It's not the end of the road, but the beginning of new paths. When we release the fear of not knowing, we make space for imagination, for creativity, for intellectual humility. We begin to listen, truly listen, to other people, their questions, their experiences, their pains. Think about how doubt has moved humanity. It led us to the stars, made us create vaccines, question injustices, seek meaning in the invisible. A child's doubt changed the course of science, and elders can transform an entire family. If even Hawking, with all his rigor, trusted in the power of this mechanism, who are we to refuse this invitation? Contrary to what we were taught in schools, doubt doesn't separate, but connects. It unites generations, cultures, forms of faith. It builds bridges between science and spirituality, between reason and emotion. It is by admitting doubt that we open space for empathy, for listening, for true compassion with those who, like us, carry unanswered questions. So why not celebrate doubt? Why not make it a symbol of courage and not of weakness? Write in the comments what doubt currently drives your life. What question would you like to leave as a legacy? Remember, what moves the world are not absolute certainties, but the tireless desire to keep asking. Now it's your turn. Look at yourself with the same honesty Hawking looked at the universe. How many times, faced with a loss, a farewell, an unexpected piece of news, did you feel that pang of fear, that sense of emptiness, the need to believe in something greater? How many times did you whisper, in silence, a prayer, even without being sure who or what was listening? How many times did you catch yourself imagining reunions, new journeys, the possibility that love, energy, affection transcend physical limits? These experiences aren't signs of weakness, but of humanity. It doesn't matter your age, your background, your faith. The desire to survive death, to remain, to leave a mark, or simply not to disappear is universal. And, by validating this feeling, Hawking indirectly authorized us to live with more lightness, more humility, more courage to not know. If you've lost someone and feel that questions weigh more than answers, take a deep breath. Post your tribute, your memory, your fear, or hope in the comments. Other readers, other viewers, might recognize themselves in you. Together we can create a current of support and understanding capable of alleviating burdens we often carry alone. Remember, no doubt is too small, no feeling unworthy of being shared. Here in this community, every uncertainty is received with respect. And if you feel that no one else understands your fear of death, your anxiety about the unknown, know that even the one who unraveled black holes felt the same. Doubt, when shared, transforms into a bond, a bridge, a comfort. This is the beauty of Hawking's legacy. He didn't just teach us about the stars, but about ourselves, about the courage to doubt and at the same time to love, to dream, to keep seeking meaning even amidst mystery. If this message touched you, share this video with whoever needs to hear it most. Click like to strengthen the community, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss the next chapters of this journey. Your story matters, your doubt matters, and together we are stronger on the path of seeking. We've reached the final moment of this journey, but as Hawking taught us, final doesn't mean a definitive end, just the beginning of a new stage of questioning and discovery. If you've followed along this far, you already know that greatness lies not in absolute certainties, but in the courage to ask, to make space for the unknown, to humanize even the greatest icons of knowledge. The story of Stephen Hawking's supposed secret document isn't about finding ready answers. It's about recognizing that, even at the pinnacle of scientific knowledge, there's still room for mystery. That even the most rational of men, facing finitude, allowed himself to contemplate the possibility of consciousness transcending barriers. That doubt is, more than ever, the true fuel of a spirit in search of purpose. Let this example inspire you. Allow yourself to question more, love more, listen more. Don't worry if there's no consensus. The world is made of searches, not conclusions. If you feel fear, share it. If you have hope, record it. If you've never talked about this with anyone, make this space your starting point. Now a request, like this video, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell to receive more content that respects and values your journey. Write in the comments what legacy you would like to leave for the world, a doubt, an idea, a hope. Who knows, your question might inspire someone on the other side of the planet. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to access more stories like this. Share this video with family, friends, loved ones. Tell them that together we can transform fear into reflection, doubt into connection, the unknown into a source of connection. Our commitment, like Hawking's, is not to deliver certainties, but to encourage the search. Because in the end, the greatest inheritance anyone can leave is the freedom to ask, and perhaps the courage to keep looking. See you soon, and remember, here, no doubt is forbidden. This is the place for those who dare to ask, and for those who never gave up trying to understand the beauty of mystery.